Hi, so I want to go over the normalization supplemental activity in this video. So let's see. The first question asks about normalizing student contacts. And so if we go here, you can see that this right here is all together in one field. And what you need to do is separate that out. So I will show you what that looks like. And so here's an example of how the field should be separated out. Okay, so there's the answer to that one. Oh, and then also the primary key should be set. So, okay. Now returning back to this question 2, if you needed to if you created any tables and setting the primary keys and everything like that. Now there were some people that did create a second table, and then they related it. Perhaps they created a table that had the names in it and a table that had the addresses in it, and then they related them via a primary key, the student ID, and that was fine as well, but you didn't have to do that for this particular example, but you did have to set the primary key. So the next question was about the student phone numbers. And so if we go into student phone numbers, you can see that this is all smashed together. Now, if you went ahead and made a field for home phone and then a field for cell phone and work and all that, then you didn't receive any points for this question because that is not normalized. What you needed to do is create 2 tables. So here, I'm going to drag this over here. So here's an example of how to do it correctly, where we, this person put CH, and that's fine. But here you can see 230 in the phone number, 230 in a different phone number. And so they made it so that you didn't have repeating fields here, but instead the student ID and the phone number are put together in separate records. And if you go and you look here, this person set this primary key, which is correct. Now, on the next question, it talks about making relationships and reinforcing referential integrity. And many students, what they did was they just took this particular table and related it to this student contacts, which was already there, and that's fine. Other times, students made a separate table. Either way is fine. But referential integrity did need to be set, and your primary key needed to be set. So the next question was about houses. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and that's also true often of databases and how you normalize things and how you do lots of different things. So there's more than one answer to this, to many of the questions here, but this is just one way. And so right here is the one way to normalize, where we bring we have a many-to-many relationship and we have a bridge table. And notice that everything that's related to the house or houses is here. Everything that's related to the contractor is here. And then you have a bridge table in between. Now, once again, with musical bands, we have the same idea. We have everything that has to do with the musicians here, everything that has to do with the musical bands here, and you have a bridge table in the middle. Also, you notice that their primary keys are set, and the primary key does not include names. Remember, names are not good primary keys. And also the referential integrity is set. You can tell that referential integrity is set because there is a 1 and a mini here, and a 1 and a mini here. And you would not have that if that weren't having referential integrity set. Okay, now on the next question is breaking up the pet owners table. And so what we did here, let me just move it over here just in case. And so what I did here was I said, or not I did, but a student did. They put all of the information about pets here and all the information about owners here, and then they had an owner ID here and owner ID here. And so we linked them, and notice it's a one-to-one relationship. If you notice on the instructions, no more than one pet. In some cases, a renter may have one pet, but no more than one pet. So that indicates a one-to-one relationship. And so to have a one-to-one relationship, you have an owner ID over here and an owner ID here, and you get a one-to-one relationship. So moving along to the next question, we have books, the table books, and the table books is right here. And so you'll notice that we have a bunch of publisher data in here, as well as and in the data is specific to, a lot of the fields are specific just to the publisher. And then we also have information that's more specific to the book. So what we want to do is we want to separate out the information between the books, or the book, and the publisher. So if you look over here, the description says, normalize the tables, including applying any concepts that you learned thus far. Assume a book has only one publisher. So we'll bring this database, I think, over here. Yes. Okay. And notice we've put all of the fields from the books over here, and I've got an ISBN number, and then all of the publisher information over here, and I've linked, and I've got an ISBN number here. And since there's one field here and one field here, and that's being linked, and they're both the primary key, you've got a one-to-one relationship, and we know that there is referential integrity set. Okay? Okay, so here's the second to the last question, and it's asking about the store customers. And just to refresh your memory, this is what the data looked like here, and you can see there's lots of repetition and redundancy, which is something that we don't want. And so we can come over here and, oh, whoops. Yeah, so we wanted to normalize that table that I just showed. So here is the arrangement of the tables. And if you want to see the data in them, I'll show you. So here is just 2 records for the store. Okay. And then here is the records for the customer. And you can see that each one of these records is unique for the customer. And then here is the store number. And then here is the data for the store. And you notice that we have a phone type of fax in Maine. Before we had 2 fields, but remember, having 2 fields or 3 fields for the phone number is just kind of like having phone 1, phone 2, phone 3. And so what you want to do, instead of having that repetition that way, is bring it around so that you have extra records instead. So here we have just phone number, and then we give it a phone type. So we had before store phone and fax number, and now we have the store phone number here, and then we have what kind of phone number it is, and then we have another phone number and the kind of phone number it is. So that's just something to take into account, because some of you did make that mistake of having phone 1, phone 2, or cell phone, home phone, etc. And you want to instead have it so that you've just got one phone number field, and you can tell what type it is if you want. Here's my dog panting. I'm sorry. But anyway, so this is what the relationship looks like in between the tables. Okay. And then finally, we have one more question down here, and that is the patient BMI overlapping fields. And there were very few students who made the mistake on this one. Almost everyone knew that this field right here, you could delete it, and because it was an overlapping field. So that is basically the answers for normalization, and hopefully this video will help answer any questions you may have about it. Thanks.